I've never written one of these before, but I'm still buzzing from what just went down, so here goes. Maybe someone will get a laugh out of it, or maybe you'll think I'm an ass. But, honestly, I don't care anymore. I had to go back to my parents' place for my birthday this year. Not that I ever want to. I usually make up some excuse about work, or whatever. But my grandma, who's in assisted living now, was supposed to call in on Zoom. And I figured, whatever. I'll eat some bad cake, show my face, bounce before anyone gets really drunk. I even wore a button up so they wouldn't have anything to pick at right away. Big mistake, thinking that would help. The moment I pulled up, there was this weird energy. The house was all quiet, which is not normal. My sister Miranda was at the kitchen table with her laptop, headphones on, looking like she'd rather be at the dentist. My mom Cora already had a half-empty glass of wine with the bottle sitting right there like a prop. Hell, Ken. Dad Roger was in the backyard smoking a cigar, which is his version of rolling out the red carpet, I guess. I should have known it was going to be weird when even the dog wouldn't come over to say hi. Just sat in the laundry room, avoiding eye contact. I tried to start things off normal, asking how everyone was doing. But they were all short with me. Miranda gave me that look like, why are you talking? Mom just shrugged and said something about the weather. Dad finally came in, blew smoke across the table, and said I looked tired. Maybe I should try working out more instead of sitting in front of screens all day. I just laughed it off. I'm used to it. They've always had this thing where I'm the soft one, mostly because I didn't want to play sports or whatever. I think my dad's always resented that, and my mom just goes along with whatever he says. Miranda honestly just likes being on the winning team, if that makes sense. So we sit down to eat. I can't even remember what it was, something bland. Nobody really talks except for the usual. My mom saying I should try networking, Miranda rolling her eyes and asking if I'm still single, Dad making some joke about real men and not being able to fix anything. I start to get this feeling like, why am I even here? But then my grandma's call was supposed to come in, so I'm just counting down the minutes. Except grandma doesn't call. Apparently her nurse called earlier and said she wasn't feeling up to it. So now there's literally no reason for me to be there except to get roasted. And that's when everyone just gets meaner. Dad starts in about how expensive it was to raise me, how I never paid him back for all the things he had to do. He says I've got no hustle, and that if he'd had any guts back then, well, that's when he dropped the bomb that changed everything. My father lit his cigar right there at the dinner table, looked me dead in the eye, and said, "You came out screaming and useless, and you've been a fucking burden ever since. If I had any spine back then, I would have left you in a dumpster." The room went dead silent for about 2 seconds. Then my mother just sipped her wine, smiled this cold little smile, and said, "We all make mistakes." Like she was reading a line from a script. Miranda didn't even look up from her phone. Just say, "Why, he's the reason I never wanted kids." And then, they all laughed. Not even a fake laugh. This ugly, loud, real laugh. Like it was the funniest thing they'd ever heard. On my birthday, I don't even know what to do for a second. I've always known they didn't like me, but I thought maybe it was just the way families are. But this was different. This was pure, undiluted hatred wrapped up in a birthday dinner. I looked at them, really looked at them, and all I could think was, I could just walk out of here and never talk to them again. The thought hit me like a lightning bolt. I didn't have to sit here and take this. I didn't owe them anything. So I said the first thing that came to my mind. You'll regret this sooner than you think. I don't even know why I said it. It just came out. Dad said something about me being dramatic. Mom waved her hand like I was a fly. Miranda just grinned. I stood up and my chair scraped across the tile way too loud. I didn't even care. I grabbed my jacket, and as I'm leaving, Dad blocks the hallway and tries to get in my face. Starts saying I'm not allowed to disrespect him in his own house. I told him to move. Nah, he didn't. So I pushed past him, shoulder into his arm. He tried to grab my wrist, but I pulled away, and he almost fell into the wall. Mom yelled at me to apologize. I just kept walking. I heard Miranda slam her laptop shut and stomp off after me, saying I was being a child. I didn't even look back. As I'm leaving, I heard something crash in the kitchen. I think it was a plate, maybe the wine bottle. I got in my car and just sat there for a second, hands on the wheel, trying to decide if I should just go get a drink somewhere or drive straight home. My phone started buzzing, text after text rolling in. I looked down and saw it was the family group chat lighting up. Dad had typed, "Drama queen strikes again. Some people never grow up." Miranda replied with a laughing emoji and, "At least we can eat in peace now." Mom chimed in, "I just don't understand where we went wrong with him." I stared at my phone screen, watching them continue to tear me apart even after I'd left. They were actually bonding over how terrible I was. On my birthday, in a group chat that included me. That's when something inside me just broke. But not in a sad way. In a cold, calculating way. When I got home, I realized I'd left my hoodie at their place. Normally I'd go back, but screw it. They could keep it. I had bigger things to worry about. I ordered some pizza and just sat there thinking about how every birthday has always sucked. But this time was different. This time I wasn't going to just accept it and move on. I started making a list in my notes app, just out of spite at first. Ways I could really piss them off. Most of them were stupid. Hiding the remote, changing the Wi-Fi password, putting salt in the sugar bowl. But then, I started thinking deeper about how much they actually depend on me for stuff. And I mean really depend on me. Miranda's car, for example, is in my name because her credit is absolutely trashed. Her ex-boyfriend destroyed it, and she needed me to co-sign just to get basic transportation. I make the payments, she Venmos me her half. Usually late, always with some excuse. Mom's side hustle website? I built the entire thing from scratch. I handle all the customer service emails, process the orders, update the inventory, manage the social media accounts. She's never even learned how to log into the admin panel. She just tells people she runs a successful online business at dinner parties, while I do literally everything behind the scenes. Dad's retirement project, this weird online consulting thing he brags about to his old work buddies, only exists because I set up all his spreadsheets, automated his email responses, manage his client database, and basically run the entire technical side. He has no idea how any of it works. He just shows up for video calls and pretends he's some kind of business guru. They act like I'm nothing, like I'm this useless burden who can't do anything right. But the truth is, they'd be completely screwed if I ever just stopped. And that's when the real plan started forming. I've never really thought about it that way before. I always just did what they wanted, even if they made fun of me. But now, after tonight, I was done. I wasn't going to sit there and take it anymore. And I wasn't just going to walk away. I was going to make sure they felt it. I stayed up late just thinking, scrolling through old messages from my mom where she's asking me to fix things for her, or Miranda blowing up my phone about some bill or whatever. I started screenshotting everything. I looked up how to get my name off Miranda's car loan, what I had to do to pull admin access from Mom's site, what happens if I just let Dad's project crash. I made a whole plan, and it felt kind of good, not gonna lie. Not even because I wanted to hurt them, okay, maybe a little, but because I was so sick of being the family doormat. It's weird to say, but I didn't even feel nervous. I just felt done. Like this was it. This was the last time they got to talk to me like that and get away with it. No more free tech support. No more covering for their crap. No more being the butt of every joke. Next morning, I woke up to like a dozen texts from Mom and Miranda. All passive-aggressive, but none of them actually apologizing. Dad sent me a voice memo that was mostly just him, breathing heavy, and saying I better man up and come fix things like a real son. I deleted it. I started making calls. I started changing logins. I started pulling every string I had. I wasn't backing down this time. They wanted to see what happens when I'm not their personal punching bag. Fine. Day. Let's see how they like it. First thing I did was check the car loan info. Turns out I can take my name off, but it's a pain. Got a call, send some paperwork, pay a stupid fee. But whatever. I started that process. Miranda texted me 4 times in one day, asking for the login to the loan portal. I told her to call customer service herself. She sent me a paragraph about how I was making her life harder on purpose. I just left it on read. She started getting more intense. Sent me caps lock texts, threatened to come to my place and make me fix it. I just muted the chat. Next up, Mom's site. I logged in, changed the admin settings, and set a 30-day timer for her access. I sent her a message that I wouldn't be handling her emails or site stuff after that. She replied with a sad face emoji, then a long guilt trip about how she's just a mom trying her best. I told her she could hire someone. She said she couldn't afford it, which was funny since she always brags about her side hustle at family parties. She called me 3 times one night, left a voicemail where she was crying. I didn't answer. I'm not trying to be cold, but I was done. I wasn't the family tech guy anymore. Dad was the trickiest. He's always been the tough love guy, but he hates when people see him fail. I waited until he texted me asking why his stuff wasn't showing up online like normal. I told him I wasn't dealing with it anymore. He called me, started yelling about family obligations and how I was a spoiled brat. I hung up. He called back and left a voicemail that was just him cussing, and then slamming something, maybe a door. I screenshotted everything and saved it just in case. Now, here's where it gets funny. They all assumed I'd cave eventually. The first few days were almost peaceful. No random emergency texts about computer problems or website issues. No panic calls about car payments or insurance questions. It was like finally being able to breathe after holding your breath for years. But then reality started hitting them. Mom texted my aunt, who called me with this whole speech about how I should forgive and forget, because family is all we have. I asked my aunt if she knew what they'd said to me at dinner. Silence. Then she said, "Well, you know how your father gets when he's drinking." I told her that wasn't an excuse and hung up. Miranda posted some vague stuff on Instagram about fake family and people who abandon you when you need them most. The comments were full of her friends being supportive, not knowing the real story. A few people even tagged me, asking if I was okay. Dad tried to get one of his old work buddies to call me, some guy I hadn't seen since I was a kid. The conversation was awkward as hell. He kept saying things like you'll only get one family, and your dad's really worried about you. I asked him if my dad had mentioned calling me a burden who should have been left in a dumpster. He got quiet real quick. I started blocking all the numbers. Anyone who wasn't already in my contacts was getting the digital equivalent of a restraining order. My friends thought I was being dramatic. They're still your family, one of them said when I explained what happened. You can't just cut them off forever. But honestly, I think I was finally standing up for myself for the first time in my adult life. The first real crack in their facade came when Miranda's car situation got desperate. She found out she couldn't refinance a loan because, surprise, surprise, her credit was even worse than when I originally co-signed. She sent me a voice note that was basically 5 straight minutes of crying and panic. "You're literally ruining my life," she sobbed. "I can't get to work without this car. I can't afford the payments alone. What am I supposed to do?" For a split second, I felt that familiar guilt creeping in. The voice in my head that said I should just help her, that it wasn't worth the drama, that maybe I was being too harsh. But then I remembered her sitting at that dinner table, looking me dead in the eye, and saying I was the reason she never wanted kids. While everyone laughed. The guilt evaporated instantly. Mom's website situation was almost worse. She tried to log in herself and accidentally corrupted half the product database. Then she attempted to fix it by randomly clicking buttons, which just made everything worse. She called me 3 times in one night, leaving increasingly desperate voicemails. The first one was sad. "Honey, I know you're upset, but could you please just help me with this one little thing?" The second one was frustrated. "I don't understand why you're being so stubborn. This is affecting my livelihood." The third one was full-blown panic. "The whole site is broken, and I have orders I can't process, and customers are leaving bad reviews, and I don't know what to do." I saved all the voicemails. Documentation, just in case. Dad's approach was different. He started showing up at my place unannounced, hoping to catch me off guard. The first time, I just didn't answer the door. He knocked for 20 minutes straight, getting progressively more aggressive. My downstairs neighbor texted me. "Is everything okay? There's a guy outside your building who seems pretty angry." I texted back. "Yeah, just family drama. He'll leave eventually." And he did. But he came back the next day, and the day after that. The building manager finally had to get involved when other residents started complaining about the noise and the aggressive behavior. She sent me an email asking if I needed help filing a restraining order. I told her I'd think about it. One night I got a text from Miranda that she was outside. I opened the door just enough to see her. She had this look like she was about to slap me. She tried to push past me, said she needed her car paperwork. I told her to back up. She tried to shove me. I stepped aside and let her stumble into the wall. She screamed at me, said I was an asshole. I told her to leave, or I'd call the landlord. She slammed the door so hard the frame shook. After that, it was just a parade of drama. Mom called from different numbers crying. Dad sent me a letter, which I just tossed. Miranda tried to get into my building by buzzing random neighbors. I warned the building group chat, so now everyone was just ignoring her. The funniest part? Nobody actually apologized. All they did was blame me for ruining everything. It was wild how quickly people turn when you stop being useful to them. 3 weeks later, they were outside my building screaming my name. My door cam caught my father punching the wall, my mother crying for the first time I'd ever seen, my sister trying to kick the door in. They looked desperate, broken, deary, like their whole world had fallen apart. Because it had. Miranda's car got flagged for missed payments as soon as my name came off the loan. Mom's business was basically dead. She couldn't get the site back up, lost a bunch of customers, and stopped going to her club since people started asking questions she couldn't answer. Dad's side project was gone too. Nobody was talking about it anymore, and he was apparently telling people I screwed him over. But nobody really believed him because everyone had seen how he acted. My aunt started messaging, saying people were talking about me at family events. Apparently Mom and Dad were telling everyone I just lost it for no reason. I sent my aunt screenshots of the texts, just so she knew the truth. She stopped calling after that. About a week ago, Dad tried one more time to get in touch. But this time was different. This time he wasn't just showing up and banging on doors. He actually waited outside my building for hours. I saw him on the security camera when I got home from work, just sitting on the steps like some kind of homeless guy. When I walked up, he looked terrible. Unshaven, clothes wrinkled, eyes bloodshot. He stood up slowly, like his whole body hurt. "We need to talk," he said, and his voice was different. Quieter. Less of that aggressive alpha male crap he usually pulled. "No, we don't," I replied, trying to walk past him to the entrance. He stepped in front of me, but not aggressively. More like pleading. "Your mother's business is gone," he said. "Completely gone. She's lost everything. The website crashed so hard that the hosting company suspended the account. She owes money to customers who never got their orders. She's talking about declaring bankruptcy." I kept my face neutral. Not my problem. "Miranda's car got repossessed yesterday," he continued. She's been sleeping on our couch because she can't afford her rent without the job she lost when she couldn't get to work anymore. Still not my problem. And my consulting thing. He paused, and for the first time in my entire life, I saw my father look genuinely defeated. All my clients found out I don't actually know how to do any of the technical work. Word got around that everything was falling apart. My reputation is destroyed. He looked at me with something I'd never seen in his eyes before. Desperation. I know what we said at dinner was wrong, he said. I was drunk, and I don't know, I was showing off or something. Trying to be funny. It wasn't funny. It was cruel. I stared at him. This was the closest thing to an apology I'd ever gotten from him in my entire life. You're right, I said. It wasn't funny. It was cruel. And it wasn't just that night, Dad. It's been my entire life. Every birthday, every family gathering, every phone call. You've spent 30 years telling me I'm worthless. And now you're surprised that I finally believed you. He tried to interrupt, but I kept going. You told me you should have left me in a dumpster when I was born. Mom said I was a mistake. Miranda said I ruined her life. And you all laughed about it. On my birthday. I didn't mean... Yes, you did, I said firmly. You meant every word. You just didn't expect there would be consequences. He tried to push past me then. Not physically, but verbally. Started talking about how I needed to be a man and fix what I'd broken. How family forgives each other. How I was being petty and vindictive. There it was. The real him, coming back out as soon as he realized the guilt trip wasn't working. I pushed him back, not hard, but firmly, and he stumbled a little. Stay away from me, I said. Stay away from my building. If I see you here again, I'm calling the police. He glared at me for a long moment, and I could see him cycling through emotions. Anger, desperation, frustration, and finally, acceptance. He walked away without another word, just turned around and left. That was the last time I saw any of them. So yeah, that's where it stands. My family's out of my life. Their mess is their own now, and I don't have to deal with their drama anymore. It's not some perfect movie ending, but honestly, I don't need one. I just need peace. I started sleeping better. Not because I'm happy, but because I don't have to worry about them texting me every 5 seconds about some stupid problem. I started focusing on my own stuff for once. I started hanging out with friends more, people who actually care if I show up or not. I even started talking to my grandma's nurse more, just to keep tabs on her since she's the only one in the family who ever acted like I mattered. Sometimes I wonder if I went too far. But then I think about all those years of being the guy everyone dumped on, and I just shrug. If they want to fix things, they can do it without me. I'm not going to be the one to reach out. I'm not going to patch up what they broke. The only real consequence for me is now I have to do my own taxes and fix my own stuff when it breaks. But honestly, I'll take that over being the family punching bag. If anyone's still reading, thanks for sticking with it. I don't know if things will ever really change with them, but I know I'm not going back. Not for anything. They wanted to see what happened when I was gone? Well, they're seeing it now. And you know what? I'm finally okay with that. The family doormat is officially retired.